Dear students, good morning to all of you. I welcome you in this class. And today we are going to discuss some basic information about zinc. Zinc as an essential nutrient for plants. So till now we have already discussed NPK, calcium, magnesium, sulfur, and some micronutrients were also discussed like iron, copper, boron, etc. Only micronutrient which was left is your zinc. And zinc is really very, very important, or rather most important nutrient, micronutrient so far India is concerned. More than 50% soils are deficient in zinc. The data is variable. Some people say it is 44% soils which are deficient. Some say 50%. So I have come across several papers and things. So overall, one can easily say that about 50% Indian soils are deficient in zinc, particularly in areas where we grow cereal crops and cereal-based cropping system like rice wheat system. Wherever we grow sugarcane, maize, those areas are zinc deficient. But it has been found across the crops that most of the soils are deficient, and we get the response in all the crops. We get response of zinc in cereals, in oil seeds, in pulses, even in fodder crops. We get response to zinc. Response to zinc means increase in yield over the control. Means you have used zinc in one plot and you have not used zinc in another plot. So how much is the increase in yield over control? That is known as response with respect to fertilizers or nutrients. So response has been observed in almost all the crops. That means we must apply zinc in soil. On the other hand, the levels of zinc are sufficient under many conditions, but availability is in question. So you will see today what are the major roles of zinc in plants, deficiency symptoms, and ways to correct the deficiency of zinc in soil. So what are the ways and means by which we can correct the zinc deficiency? So there we will deal with sources of zinc. Maybe sometimes your manures can also supply zinc, and your fertilizer can also supply zinc, and you can also grow zinc efficient crops, or zinc use efficient varieties are also available. And now you see world over, people are talking a lot about the zinc. And why it is so? Because our food are deficient in zinc. Food means mainly people consume rice and wheat crops. And rice and wheat grains across the world, you know. For example, rice. Majority of Indians and world population eat rice. In Asia, you see 90% rice is produced and consumed. So what happens when people are consuming zinc deficient food? Then they will have zinc deficiency. And there are several problems in human population. They can be susceptible to several diseases, and several disorders can happen in animals and humans, because zinc is an essential nutrient for animals also. So main questions comes that your soils are deficient in zinc, so your food will be deficient in zinc. That is mainly rice and wheat and cereal grains. If they are deficient in zinc, then human beings or animals, those who are consuming it, will also show zinc deficiency symptoms. I'm not going into the details what happens when zinc is deficient in human food, how the human health will be affected by zinc deficiency. I'm not going into that detail, but surely one can learn, a student can learn the zinc deficiency in human beings. What happens? So overall, if your rice and wheat crops, major food crops, are deficient in zinc, human population will be deficient in zinc. That is why we are talking a lot about zinc. So for this purpose, you can artificially blend zinc. Artificially blend zinc, which is your kind of fortification. And you can also enrich your varieties or increase zinc levels in your varieties. Then that is your biofortification. Biofortification through involvement of some genetic approaches, plant breeding, or screening of genotypes. So that is how this subject is getting more and more important. Zinc, that is zinc. So zinc is basically a metal. It is a bluish white metal belonging to the 12th group of the periodic table, occurs naturally as sphalerite. These are the minerals: smithsonite, hemimorphite, and wozite, and is extracted by roasting the oxide and reducing with carbon. So this is how you can produce or purify the zinc. Zincated urea. It is a mixture of urea containing zinc as a micronutrient material, or a mixture of urea with zinc sulfate, heptahydrate. It can be made either by dry mixing, bulk blending, or coating common fertilizers such as ammonium nitrate or urea. So zincated urea, many of the students might be knowing that it is part of the fertilizer control order. You must be understanding what do we mean by fertilizer control order. This is a book of laws, rules, regulation governing the production of fertilizer, the testing of fertilizer or use of fertilizer, and specifications of the fertilizer. So all the specifications of fertilizers are laid down, are written in a document which is called as Fertilizer Control Order. It is from the Ministry of Chemicals and Fertilizers. So it was first time it was published in 1985, and several amendments have been made in that Fertilizer Control Order. So Fertilizer Control Order is nothing, it is just a book of rules and regulations governing fertilizer. Any fertilizer material that you want to sell in the market, that must have been included in Fertilizer Control Order. If that material is not included in FCO, then you cannot sell your fertilizer. Suppose I have made a new fertilizer and I want to sell it in the market, then I must get my product registered in the FCO. And in FCO, I must, and before that, I must provide the proof that this material is worth use and it has been tested under field conditions and it gives very good response. Then it will be included in Fertilizer Control Order. So what I want to say here is that all the fertilizers, urea, DAP, SSP, whatsoever you see, they are part of the Fertilizer Control Order. Hence, they are being sold in the open market. So zincated urea has been included in that Fertilizer Control Order. And what would be the minimum content of zinc in zincated urea? Any student, any idea? What should be the minimum content of nitrogen in urea?
0.5%.
0.5%. This is zinc. Any other student? This is not correct, Santika. It is more than 2%. More than 2% zinc means minimum 2% zinc should be there. So it can be more than that, but minimum is 2% zinc in the form of metal, Zn. It should be at least 2%. So similarly for urea, at least you should have a minimum of 46% nitrogen. So this zincated urea is actually you can mix zinc. Means urea containing zinc is zincated urea. And you can produce zincated urea by two ways. One is that you take zinc fertilizer and mix it in urea. That will be your blended zinc. Zinc is blended in urea or mixed in urea. So that is your zinc blended urea. Or you can also call it zincated urea. And other way to produce zincated urea is by coating the zinc around the urea grains. Urea granules you have, if you make coating, एक पतली परत चढ़ा देते हैं, a small layer of zinc is coated around the urea grains. Then this is also zincated urea, but you can call it zinc coated urea. So zinc coated urea, zinc blended urea, both are zincated urea, and they should contain at least 2% of zinc. Now question comes, dear students, why we need zincated urea? Because we can apply urea as well as zinc separately also. So why there is need to go for zincated urea?
So if we will apply two separate fertilizer, then the cost will increase. So in one go, we can apply zinc as well as urea through one fertilizer.
This is correct. This is correct. And any other reason? So what she is saying that you can mix two fertilizers together and you will not require to apply them separately. So cost of application will be reduced. This is good. The other, yes.
It is it coagulates with urea, means it is hygroscopic, that's why. Oh, no, sorry sir. No.
Yeah, no problem. No problem. Actually, this zinc heptahydrate or zinc sulfate heptahydrate contain water. So you cannot do its coating. Coating of zinc sulfate heptahydrate is not possible. It will not be permanent coating because this water molecule will ask or will help zinc sulfate to get it separated from the urea grains easily. So better to coat urea with zinc oxide. Actually, at factory level, at production level, most of the time it is zinc oxide which is used for coating. But there is problem with the zinc oxide and zinc sulfate heptahydrate. I tell you, zinc sulfate heptahydrate is already having water. It can be blended with urea and applied. And however, if you want coating, then you need zinc oxide. Zinc oxide contains about 80 to 81% zinc. It is very rich in zinc. So you can coat urea with zinc oxide, but problem with zinc oxide is that it is not soluble. It is not soluble in water. However, zinc sulfate heptahydrate is soluble in water. The zinc oxide can make suspension in water, but it is insoluble in water. So availability of zinc oxide is less compared to zinc sulfate. Plants can take up zinc sulfate very easily, but zinc oxide, it takes a lot of time, months together, to make zinc available from the zinc oxide. So here, purpose of coating zinc oxide is to reduce nitrification of urea. If you make a layer around zinc grain, then nitrification will be slowed down because dissolution will be slow. This coated layer, zinc oxide, which is insoluble in water, so it can keep your urea safe for say 20 days, 25 days. Then this zinc oxide will start solubilization and then urea will be released or nitrogen will be released. So this is how, so in this you can remember 3-4 points that zinc sulfate heptahydrate is having 7 molecules of water and it cannot be used for coating purposes. However, direct application can be made to the soil, zinc sulfate heptahydrate. It contains about 21% zinc. And one more is there in the market, which is zinc sulfate monohydrate. How much zinc it contains?
33%.
33%. Okay. So zinc sulfate monohydrate, I was thinking it is 31%. So you check yourself which one is correct, maybe 33. So so monohydrate contain more zinc. So now with time in the market, now you get more of zinc sulfate monohydrate in the market, which is being sold to the farmer instead of heptahydrate, because that is rich in zinc. So you need to take less quantity of monohydrate zinc sulfate, and it is preferred over zinc sulfate heptahydrate because of more concentration. So less quantity of zinc sulfate is needed. Another point you can remember is that zinc oxide contains 81% zinc and it is used for coating urea. Main source of coating urea is zinc oxide, which is insoluble in water, and at least 2% zinc should be there in zincated urea. The last point I want to make, why this coating was required. So actually what was happening in the market, like single superphosphate, this zinc sulfate heptahydrate was also spurious. Spurious means adulterated. It was not pure zinc sulfate. So many people cheated the farmers by selling a duplicate product. It was not original zinc sulfate. It was a mixture of some other items. So what happens? Farmers were having losses in two ways. One way was that considering that it is zinc sulfate, but it was not, they applied in the crop and zinc deficiency was not elevated or zinc deficiency was not corrected. So you see, if zinc deficiency is there, the crops will give you less yield. So this was one way farmers were not happy. And secondly, they were paying money for nothing because it was not real zinc sulfate. So there were two important reasons. Farmers do not want to use more of zinc sulfate. Instead, the theory was that they can use zincated urea, which will be produced by factory or industry, and it will be having pure zinc. So our crops, our soils can get the pure zinc. So that was another purpose of developing zincated urea. And thirdly, by default, if you are using zincated urea, zinc deficiency will be automatically overcome. You need not to apply zinc from outside. So it is by default, zinc deficiency can be corrected. So there were some purposes of introducing zincated urea. It is being produced by some factories or some fertilizer industry and being used. But production is not very high, very limited production is there for zincated urea. So likewise, I can recall here, one new fertilizer is sulfur-coated urea. So sulfur-coated urea is also there. As you know, our soils are getting deficient in sulfur. So now government has started or government has released the order to produce sulfur-coated urea in India. Does anybody has any idea about sulfur-coated urea, which was recently inaugurated by Prime Minister, say 2-3 months back or 4 months back? It was in news. Yes, please.
So it is urea gold.
Exactly.
And it is containing 17% sulfur content.
Very good. And who is answering this?
Astika.
Artika?
Astika.
Astika. Okay, very good. So see, she's saying that it contains 17% sulfur and 35% nitrogen. Others can also remember that it is called as urea gold because it is yellow in color. So 17% coating is too high, and it is difficult to make 17% coating and then keep it intact for a long time because it can easily be separated from urea grains. So its effectiveness can be lost. So main problem is how to keep this sulfur coated around the urea grain because it can break, it can be easily separated. So what people do, they use a sealant. One sealant is there. So around first, they make a coating of urea grains by that sealant. Sealant is a sticky material, and there are variety of sealants that can be used. And then they coat with molten sulfur around the grains, and sulfur-coated urea is produced. The main purpose, basic purpose, is to supply sulfur to the soil, and by default, when farmers will buy urea, and sulfur will automatically go into soil along with sulfur-coated urea. That is the basic purpose. And now the size of the bag has been reduced. Previously, for example, if you buy urea, it was 50 kg, and it was reduced to 45 kg when government started making neem-coated urea. So neem-coated urea bags are just 45 kg bags. Similarly, this sulfur-coated urea bags will be of 35 kg only. Government is saying if you are using sulfur-coated urea, then you can save nitrogen. So this whatever nitrogen is there in 35 kg bag can be equal to normal urea, which is having 45 kg bag. So there will be saving of about 10 kg urea. So that is the purpose. And that may be correct also because number of studies have been done. If you use sulfur-coated urea, it increases availability of sulfur, number one. And second point is that it increases the use efficiency of nitrogen present in urea. So that way it has been found beneficial. And National Fertilizer Limited, NFL, is a fertilizer company which is headquartered in Mumbai. National Fertilizer Limited. And no, I'm sorry. It is RCFL. I'm really sorry. It is RCFL, Rashtriya Chemicals and Fertilizer Limited. RCFL. It is located in Mumbai, and it is starting production of sulfur-coated urea at commercial scale, first time in India. And still it is not in the market because government is in the process of fixing the price. Price has not been fixed, and definitely it will be expensive than normal urea because cost of sulfur will also be there in this urea. So hope you got these 2 points about zincated urea and sulfur-coated urea. Anything you want to ask related to these new fertilizers in your if you are interested? Any point? Now, zinc chelates, these are also kind of fertilizer which are more efficient and they contain more zinc. The foliar spray of zinc chelate is always better than zinc sulfate heptahydrate or monohydrate. So zinc chelate is an inorganic complex in which a ligand like ethylene diamine tetraacetic acid, EDTA, you can remember the full form of EDTA, is bound to the zinc ion at more than 2 points so that the metal ion becomes part of the ring of atoms. The zinc EDTA complex is an example. So this zinc EDTA is a zinc chelate. Similarly, iron also, you have iron chelates that can be used for foliar application. The concentration is much less compared to zinc sulfate or iron sulfate. So if you are going to spray zinc chelate, then the concentration will be less than zinc sulfate or other fertilizers. Zinc frits. A frit is a ceramic composition that has been fused, quenched, and granulated. So these are frits with zinc as the main micronutrient, fusing salts of zinc with glass or glass component from zinc frits. Now we come to the main subject. It was just introduction to zinc. And it is required. First, you see the role of zinc. It is required directly or indirectly by several enzymes, systems, and auxins like indole acetic acid in protein synthesis and seed production. So it is necessary. Zinc is believed to promote RNA synthesis, which in turn is needed for protein production. I think you might be knowing how protein is synthesized. First, DNA is converted to RNA, and then RNA is translated to protein. So in this process, you need zinc. So on an average, across the plants, less than 2 is the critical level of zinc. Means if you have less than 20 milligram per kg, then you will have zinc deficiency. It is interveinal yellowing on middle and or young leaves, reduced leaf size, and chocolate brown burned up rice plants. Those who want to remember deficiency symptoms of zinc in rice particularly, then you can say chocolate brown burned up rice plants. It is the typical deficiency symptom of zinc in rice, which is called as Khera disease. And white bud in maize is also zinc deficiency. Zinc deficiency causes characteristic rosetting or clustering of small leaves. Many small leaves will make a kind of bunch in the younger portion, in the tip region. At the top of the plant, rosetting commonly occurs in fruit and citrus trees, where leaves are smaller in size and they look like in a bunch. Interrode length is reduced actually. So under severe deficiency in corn, the leaf area between the midrib and leaf edge turns a distinctive white color. Now, zinc deficiency symptoms in cereals, as I told you, the response of zinc is more in cereals. So let us see what are zinc deficiency symptoms in cereals like rice, wheat, maize, sugarcane. So mobility of zinc is low. Low mobility means deficiency will come in the middle part or in the younger part of the plants or in the top of the plant. Stunted plant growth. Plant growth will be reduced. There will be decrease in height, decrease in leaf size, poor tilling, light green, yellowish, bleached spots means there is no greenness. Chlorotic bands on either side of the midrib in monocots like maize. brown rusty spots. So you can also call it brown rusty spot or chocolate brown spots. So brown rusty spots on leaves in some crops, which in acute zinc deficiency, as in rice, may cover the lower leaves also. Internodes are short. Internodes are short. Flowering, fruiting, and maturity can be delayed. Shoots may die off. See, death can also occur, and leaves can fall prematurely. Zinc toxicity can result in reduction in root growth. Sometimes one can have zinc toxicity also, where root growth will be reduced and leaf expansion followed by chlorosis. Now, after serious zinc deficiency symptoms in cereal, let us see exclusive symptoms in rice. So first thing is that zinc deficiency symptoms are more prominent during second to fourth week after transplanting. Means you can say 15 days to 1 month. 15 days to 1 month or 30 days after transplanting, one can expect zinc deficiency symptoms. If zinc deficiency symptoms in rice are not visible, are not happening during this period, then you will never have zinc deficiency at later stage. Because most of the time in rice, it is sensitive to zinc deficiency, particularly in the early growth period, which is from 15 to 30 days after transplant. What happens? Dusty brown spots on upper leaves, blade size is reduced, or you can say leaf size is reduced. Uneven plant growth means in some place you can see in this picture. So there is mortality and slow growth in some parts. So this deficiency can happen in patches also. So uneven plant growth and patches of poorly established hills. Increased spikelet sterility means you will get less number of filled grain. One spikelet in rice will give you 1 grain, and that spikelet may be filled or may be unfilled. If spikelet is unfilled, means it is sterile. Chlorotic midribs near the leaf base of younger leaves. Leaves lose turgor and turn brown as brown blotches. So these are symptoms in rice. Now, there may be toxicity of rice also, but toxicity happens when you have more than 200 milligram per kg dry matter zinc. So more than 200 ppm zinc, if it is there in the plant tissues, in the shoot part, particularly during the vegetative phase in rice, then you will have zinc deficiency. Zinc toxicity. I'm talking about toxicity. More than 200 ppm means toxic, and less than 20 ppm means deficiency. So zinc toxicity reduces or ceases growth. Yellow leaves and eventual plant death. Peanut and soybean are sensitive to high zinc. So you can experience more toxicity in peanut and soybean, and while most crops are tolerant to zinc toxicity. So these are susceptible crops, groundnut and soybean. For further details, I have given you reference here. I just taken this statement from Soil Fertility and Fertilizers, page 275. You can read zinc and all the micronutrients. One chapter is there from this book. So critical soil levels for occurrence of zinc deficiency. These are the critical zinc levels in soil for deficiency. And it was proposed by Katyal. I just missed the reference. I will find it out. So you must remember these 2-3 values. They are usually asked from the students. What is the critical level of zinc in soil? So you can say, sir or madam, it is 0.6 milligram per zinc per kg soil if it is extracted by 1 normal ammonium acetate at pH 4.8. But it can be 0.8 ppm if DTPA is extracted. The critical zinc will be 0.8 ppm. It depends upon extractant used. And similarly, it may be 1 ppm critical level if the extractant is 0.05 normal SCM. So these values are differing. It depends upon efficiency of the extractant, how much it is capable of extracting the available zinc. And in this case, higher the values means more efficient will be the extractant, more zinc it is taking out. Now, depending on the zinc level, zinc deficiency status of plants. So these are 4 different levels. So it is not that as I told you, less than 20 ppm is the critical level in plant. But you can have 4 different classes even in this when you have less than 20 ppm. So for example, less than 10 ppm or less than 10 milligram per kg in the plant tissues, then you will have definite zinc deficiency. If it is in the range of 10 to 15, very likely zinc deficient, and when you have 15 to 20 milligram per kg, it is likely zinc deficient. And if you have more than 20 ppm, then it is sufficient. So minimum zinc in plant required is 20 milligram per kg during vegetative stage. And there is also ratio, trace system I was discussing in another class. So the ratio of phosphorus is to zinc and iron is to zinc in the shoot at drilling to the panicle initiation stage are good indicators of zinc deficiency. Some ratios have been fixed by workers like Doberman and Fairhurst from ED. So the ratio of value should not exceed. For example, phosphorus is to zinc ratio should be 20 to 60 is to 1. In shoot at least for 6 weeks after planting. Similarly, zinc, iron and zinc ratio should be 5 is to 7 is to 1. So here you can see that iron concentration is more in plant tissues than zinc concentration in rice. So it should be 5 to 7 is to 1 in shoots at 6 weeks after planting. So you can see zinc deficiency symptoms in different crops here, in castor, in maize, in cotton. In rice, you have already seen this picture. And on the right side, these are very clear-cut symptoms. You can see the top leaves, and they are getting brown in color. And dear students, remember that this color cannot be reverted back. The leaf which has already become brown or dried, it will not recover again. It will not be having any chlorophyll after once it has become brown. So you can see uneven field growth in this picture on the top left. Plant is stunting in the foreground. You can see tilling is reduced and appearance of dusty brown spots on upper leaves. So zinc deficiency symptoms come basically on the upper leaves or young tissues or sometimes in the middle part. But if deficiency continues, the whole plant will be affected. And I have seen many times that if it is occurring at vegetative growth and deficiency is severe, then the rice plant will not have any heading. And if heading is there, all the grains, all the spikelets will remain empty. So sometimes it can become very serious. So at this point of time, I want to ask you who discovered the Khera disease and where? First time in India or world?
While in NA, in Pannagar,
Which year?
1966.
1966. Okay. So here I wish to tell you very interesting fact. I do not know whether it was right or wrong. So when Dr. Weil Nene was doing research in Pantnagar, he was in plant pathology department. So he said he was struggling to find out the reason for browning of rice. He was seeing the plants and symptoms were zinc deficiency symptoms, but he was not able to find out the element or the reason for it. So what did he say? In his lab, some zinc sulfate was kept and some iron sulfate and some fertilizer materials were there. He asked his assistant to apply, say, iron sulfate. But by mistake, that assistant has taken zinc sulfate and he applied zinc sulfate. Then Nene was thinking that it is iron which has corrected this deficiency. But before also he has used iron sulfate. But this time, this deficiency was corrected. So he asked that lab attendant, what did you do? So he said, "Saab, galti ho gayi, zinc wala dal diya tha maine iron ki jagah." So then he was happy. Okay, beta, ab to तुमने बहुत अच्छा काम किया. So people claim that it was accidental also. Anyway, so you can remember this zinc deficiency in Thyra disease is credited to Dr. Y.L. Nano. Now you see some more symptoms of zinc deficiency in rice, browning of leaves, and particularly lower leaves are green, you can see. And some more symptoms of zinc deficiency in rice and barley also, you can see. In sugarcane, zinc deficiency symptoms, you can see starting here, you see yellowing of leaves, and then they may become brown. So what are the areas that are affected by zinc deficiency? Soils with porous structures. So porous structures are really quite notorious, you can say, high pH, high calcium carbonate, and low organic matter. So under such conditions, you may expect zinc deficiency. Leaching can also occur in case of zinc. Acid leached, sandy and sandy loam soils, high available phosphorus and manganese in soil. So high phosphorus will reduce the zinc availability. Submerged or flooded soils, you can have zinc deficiency. Soils irrigated with sodic waters can have zinc deficiency. When topsoil is removed during leveling or lost through erosion, then also one can experience zinc deficiency. Reasons for zinc deficiency. A small amount of available zinc in the soil. So you can have sufficient quantity of zinc, but not all is available. Not all is in solution and not all is in exchangeable form. So for any element, any nutrient element, you have two forms. One is mainly in soil solution and other is in exchangeable form. So these are basically available forms of a nutrient. Second is planted varieties are susceptible to zinc deficiency. High pH, 7 or alkaline under anaerobic conditions. So at high pH, you will as the pH of the soil increases, zinc deficiency decreases. And solubility of zinc decrease by 2 orders or 2 times for each unit increase in pH, say after 6 or somewhere around this. Precipitated as sparingly soluble zinc hydroxide when pH increases in acid soils following flooding. Means it is mainly because of zinc hydroxide formation that zinc availability decreases upon flooding of soil. Formation of zinc phosphate following large use of phosphatic fertilizer. So again, it becomes insoluble. So high phosphorus content in irrigation water can also reduce the zinc availability. So here there is a simple thing that if you have more of phosphorus in soil, there is no ideal level of phosphorus and zinc in the soil. Then you will get more fixation of zinc and more fixation of phosphorus also. And similarly, if you have really very high levels of zinc in soil and less level of phosphorus in soil, then also you can have more fixation of zinc and phosphorus. But if you have some balanced quantity of both, then they will not have any antagonistic effect. If both are present at optimum level, there will not be any antagonism, any negative effect. It only happens when one is having a comparatively larger proportion than the other. High bicarbonate concentration because of reducing condition in calcareous soil with high organic matter content or because of large concentration of bicarbonate in irrigation water. So these bicarbonates can also fix your zinc and reduce the zinc availability. Formation of complexes between zinc and organic matter in soils with high pH. At high pH, it can form complexes with organic matter, and high organic matter applications may reduce the availability of zinc. Precipitation of zinc as zinc sulfide and pH decrease in alkaline soil following flooding. So there also zinc availability can be reduced. Excessive liming can also result in reduced availability of zinc. Means excessive liming means you will increase the pH of the soil and then zinc availability will decrease. So response to zinc means how much is the increase in yields or growth due to application of zinc. So based upon 15,000 trials on research station Zinc 2008, reported the average response of different groups of crops as follows. The thing is MV Singh. MV Singh was a scientist in Indian Institute of Soil Science, Bhopal. He was coordinator of the Micronutrients project. One project is there, All India coordinated project is there on micronutrients and pollutants. So he was a coordinator of that program, and he really did wonderful work on micronutrient research in our country. He was basically interested on boron. He did some work on boron also. So he retired long back, but he is known for micronutrient research, Dr. M.V. Singh. M for monkey, V for victory, M.V. Singh. So this data is from him. For example, in cereals, you can expect 420 to 550 kg grain per hectare. Means if you add 1 kg zinc, 1 kg zinc in 1 hectare area can increase 420 to 550 grain, can give you extra 420 to 550 kg grain over control, where you have not used the zinc, or you can see 15 to 23% increase over no zinc control. In pulses, it is 170 to 460. So response is less. The increase is less, but increase is there. In oilseed also, you get further lower increase, but increase is there. In fodder, you get 0.09 to 4.6 tons green fodder per hectare. Here also increase is there. So you can see that you need not to remember this data, but you can see that zinc is able to increase the grain yields of different crops. So we are getting response in cereals, pulses, oilseeds, and fodder crops. Now coming to zinc in soils. So as I told you that there is sometimes enough level of zinc in soil, but availability is the problem. And availability is the problem because it gets fixed in the soil. It is not in available form. It is not in exchangeable form. I mean, sufficient levels are not in exchangeable form or in the soil solution. Soil solution has very, very small fraction of zinc in it. So therefore, availability of zinc is very, very crucial or very, very important. Total zinc in world soils ranges from 10 to 300 milligram per kg soil. So see, the range is quite high. 10 to 300 milligram per kg is total zinc in the world soils. And as I told you, the critical level may be 0.6 or it can be 0.8 ppm. So you need just 0.8 ppm zinc or milligram per kg soil in available form, or more than that. Say 1 ppm, if you have 1 ppm zinc in soil or 2 ppm zinc in soil, then it is enough. However, you see the range is 10 to 300 ppm in soil. So we have got a good quantity of total zinc across the world soils with an average of 50 milligram per kg. In general, light sandy soils contain 31 to 61 milligram zinc per kg soil, while heavy soil contains 35 to 75 milligram zinc per kg soil. So here you can see that heavy soils contain more zinc than the light sandy soil. So you just note down the important points, the meaning of these data. You need not to remember each and every data, but see the comparison. Total zinc in Indian soil is reported to be 47 milligram per kg in anti-soil. Now you see type of soil is affecting the quantity of the total zinc. In some certain soil orders, you get high levels. In certain soil orders, you get less level of zinc. So average is 47 milligram per kg in anti-soils, 60 milligram in insectisol, 61 milligram in aridozoles, 63 milligram in vertisols, 44 milligram in alfizol, 43 in altizoles, 30 in molizoles, and 72 in oxazoles. So you can see these oxazole soils contain more zinc, which is 72. And next is your vertisols. They also contain 63 milligram of total zinc. But most zinc is present as insoluble compounds, or you see fixed zinc, and is unavailable to plant. Only exchangeable zinc on clay minerals, hydrous oxide of alumina and iron, and organic matter particle surfaces contribute to soil solution zinc and becomes available to crop plants. So you can see available zinc is mostly attached to the soil colloids, whether they are organic colloids or inorganic colloids. Inorganic colloids are minerals, clay minerals, and organic colloid is your humus. So whatever zinc, available zinc is there, that is attached to available in the exchangeable form. So exchangeable zinc in Indian soils varies from 0.1 to 2 milligram per kg. So this is actually available zinc. So available zinc is 0.1 to 2 ppm or 0.1 to 2 milligram per kg. This is range. So wherever you have 2 milligram, then that means it is sufficient. If you have less than 1 milligram, that means it is insufficient. You can check, already I have given you this kind of data. But this is important that most Indian soils contain about 0.1 to 2 milligram per kg exchangeable zinc. Zinc in soil solution at any time is very little and tends to be in equilibrium with exchangeable zinc. Means if zinc is removed from the soil solution by plants or by microbes, then that gap can be filled by the zinc which is present as exchangeable zinc. So that will replace the zinc which has been taken up by crops. Barber reported that zinc in soil solution varies from 10 to the power minus 10 molar to 10 to the power minus 6 molar. So it is another way to express the concentration in terms of molar. So 10 to the power minus 10 to 10 to the power minus 6 molar. 10 to the power minus 6 is higher concentration than 10 to the power minus 10. Carroll and Lonergan 1969 reported that 10 to the power minus 7 to 10 to the power minus 9 molar zinc levels in solution culture studies were found to be critical for plant growth. Now, some people in older days have also found out critical level in soil solution, critical level of a nutrient in soil solution. So they reported that 10 to the power minus 7 to 10 to the power 9 is the molar, is the critical level of zinc in soil solution. Zinc deficiency is likely to occur in soils when soil solution zinc is between 10 to the power minus 10 to 10 to the power minus 8, reported by Lindsay 1991. Anybody knows the contribution of Lindsay?
DTPA test.
Good, very good. So he used this DTPA as an extractant, and he has given method of estimating zinc by using DTPA. Factors affecting zinc availability. Now, you can check what are the factors that affect zinc availability. As just now you have seen, there in sometimes there is enough zinc in the soil, but it is not available. So if you can control fixation of zinc in soil, or insoluble forms of zinc can be converted into soluble form, then the zinc availability can be increased. So let us see how different factors will affect the availability of zinc. Soil pH. The solubility of zinc decreases 100-fold for each unit increase of soil pH. Means as you increase the soil pH, the availability or solubility of zinc will decrease. Rupa and Tomar they are from Indian Institute of Soil Science, from laboratory studies reported that desorption means detachment of adsorbed P decreased with increasing pH and abruptly stopped at pH 7.5. So if you have 7.5 pH, then availability of zinc will be sharply low, will be reduced. Then number 2 is calcium carbonate can also affect the availability of zinc. Overall, if you increase the levels of carbonates in soil, they will reduce the availability of zinc. Calcium carbonates increases soil pH, sorbs zinc on its surface and may form insoluble calcium zincate. So therefore, high levels of calcium carbonate will reduce the zinc availability. You see, Rowell reported that zinc could be held on calcium carbonate surfaces as zinc hydroxycarbonate. You can see zinc hydroxycarbonate. So it makes complex. It may get complex with calcium carbonate. So this would explain why zinc deficiency is more prevalent on calcareous soils. So first point is that you will get more zinc deficiency or less zinc availability in calcareous soils, mainly because of formation of zinc hydroxycarbonate. Now, third factor is amounts of sodium, calcium, and magnesium. So these cations can also influence the zinc availability. Both sodium and magnesium increases soil pH. So indirectly, they are reducing the zinc availability and also compete with calcium for absorption sites on plant roots. Katyal Sharma reported reduced zinc uptake by plants in calcium and magnesium-rich soils. So all these three elements or three nutrients, if you increase their level, zinc availability will decrease. Now, phosphate, I already discussed about phosphate fertilization. So we can also see the level of phosphate or application of phosphatic fertilizer. So zinc deficiency in corn is often aggravated by phosphorus fertilization. If you increase phosphorus fertilization, then zinc deficiency or zinc availability will decrease, particularly in calcareous soils. Zinc can form insoluble zinc phosphate when concentration of phosphate is high in soil solution. However, this may still be available to crop plants. In field studies in India, zincated superphosphate compared with zinc sulfate as a source of zinc, customized zincated NPKs are produced and used in India. The root colonization by arbuscular mycorrhiza increases spatial availability of zinc similar to that of phosphorus. So this is interesting. As I told you before also, these mycorrhiza are useful for mobilization and uptake of phosphorus, that is true, but they also help in the uptake of other nutrients. Many other nutrients, this mycorrhiza help, like zinc uptake is increased if you use mycorrhiza. So what happens if you put too much of phosphorus in soil, then mycorrhizal growth will be affected. Mycorrhizal growth in general is more when you have less phosphatic fertilizer. Or when you have optimum level of phosphorus, you will get good level of mycorrhiza. But excess phosphorus application reduces mycorrhizal growth. And then it will also affect the zinc availability. So mycorrhizal plants usually have higher zinc contents in the shoot. Means if you apply mycorrhiza in the soil, it will increase zinc uptake. Means it has increased the zinc availability. Shoot diameter and are less sensitive to zinc deficiency than non-mycorrhizal plants. So therefore, mycorrhiza are helpful in zinc availability. As a rule, all factors which impair root colonization by AM fungi, including high levels of soil or fertilizer phosphorus, tend to decrease zinc content in plants and increase the risk of zinc deficiency in plants grown on soils low in extractable zinc. So overall, the message here is that phosphorus will affect the mycorrhizal growth, and the mycorrhiza growth or colonization on roots of the plant will affect the zinc availability and uptake. Generally, mycorrhiza, if you have mycorrhiza in soil, they will increase zinc availability and uptake like they do it for phosphorus. Now, soil moisture, next factor number 5 is soil moisture. It also affects the zinc availability. Adequate moisture in soil is necessary for zinc uptake. This is why zinc deficiency is more pronounced in dry regions. So in dry regions, very dry regions, you can have zinc deficiency. Similarly, in very wet regions, means in flooded conditions also, you will have zinc deficiency. But if you have moderate conditions means your soils are aerobic, but they have sufficient moisture, then you will have better zinc availability under those conditions. Take the case of wheat. Almost 100% wheat in India is irrigated. In Punjab, Haryana, Telangana, or some other state, the wheat is more than 99% area is irrigated. So wheat is irrigated and wheat is also grown in the same soils. But you will not notice generally zinc deficiency in wheat, but you will notice zinc deficiency in rice. Because in rice, you got flooded conditions, and then there is insolubilization of zinc or fixation of zinc, and it is made unavailable. But in wheat, that is not the case. Conditions are aerobic and moistures are also good. So there may not be, in general, deficiency of zinc in wheat is not very much pronounced. So Gao co-workers reported that zinc concentration in rice leaves at tilling as well as physiological maturity was lower under alternate wetting and drying conditions as compared to that under continuous flooding. So he said, if you reduce the moisture levels, then zinc availability also reduces. And if you, it is more under alternate wetting and drying compared to flooding condition. It is his report, but most of the time you find zinc deficiency only when you submerge the soil. If you have aerobic cycles, then zinc deficiency can be reduced. In acid soils, zinc deficiency may be attributed to increased pH. As you know, when you submerge the soils, when you grow the paddy crop, if you flood it, then the pH becomes neutral. pH comes towards neutrality. Alkaline soils, pH will come to 7. Acid soils, pH will come to around 7. So in acid soils, zinc deficiency may be attributed to increased pH. The pH is suppose it was 5. So it can go to 7. And for your information, I wish to tell here that rice can be grown on soils ranging, soil pH ranging from 3 to 10, from 3 pH to 10 pH. Even at 4 pH, no plant can survive. No plant can grow at 10 pH. But rice can survive provided it is flooded, it is submerged, it is waterlogged. So if you put water in such soils of 3 to 10 pH, the pH will come towards neutrality. It will become neutral. It will come around 7, say 6.5 to 7.5 will become your pH. So that means the pH of the acid soils has been raised and pH of the alkaline soil has been decreased. So in acid soils, zinc deficiency may be attributed to increased pH under reducing conditions and subsequent precipitation of franklinite. Franklinite is formed, which is insoluble. Zinc ferric oxide. Is it ferric oxide or ferrous oxide? Any student? Zn Fe2O4. Is it ferric oxide, zinc ferric oxide, or ferrous oxide?
Ferric.
Correct. Because here Fe will have 3 valency. Yeah, ferric oxide or sphalerite. Zinc sulfide is known as sphalerite. Decreasing pH in submerged calcareous soils would usually increase zinc solubility. So in calcareous soils, but they are submerged, then the zinc solubility will increase. Because pH was high, it has come down, it has become low. However, with high pH and poor aeration, potential zinc deficiency is aggravated. Now, I have a question to the student. As you are seeing that if you have zinc acidic pH, lower pH, then zinc solubility is more, zinc availability is more. If you increase the pH, then zinc availability decreases. So suppose pH is 7.5. In one case, pH is 7.5. In another case, pH is, say, 6.5. So what will be form of zinc? Form of zinc that will be taken up by plant when pH is 6.5 and when pH is 7.5 or alkaline. Means what will be the form of zinc ion uptake when pH is acidic or when pH is alkaline. You got the question? Like zinc is taken up Zn plus 2. Copper is taken as Zn plus 2 or nickel plus 2. Likewise, you have ions. So what will be the ion? Zinc ion that will be taken up under acidic pH condition and alkaline pH condition. Is it zinc alone under both situations, or do you have any other ion that any other ionic form of zinc? Any student? Hello? Yeah, Kanchan, you have any idea? Kunal, are you there?
Yes, sir. No
Any
idea.
idea? Any student can tell me. Anyone can tell me. See this table? Are you seeing this table?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Forms of micronutrients are dominant in the soil solution. So here you can see for iron. Iron you got Fe2 plus. Already you know Fe2 plus and Fe3 plus. So plants take up these forms also under acidic conditions, this Fe2, Fe3. But under alkaline conditions, these are the ions that can be taken up or that are available to the plant. So many of you might be seeing first time that iron hydroxide plus iron hydroxide plus 2. Maybe similarly for zinc, if pH is acidic, then you get Zn2 plus. If pH is alkaline, that plant will take up zinc in this form, ZnOH plus. Similarly for copper, Cu2 plus, CuOH plus. And then molybdenum, HMO4 also under alkaline conditions. So you can see, under acidic conditions. This will be under acidic conditions. And you see, interesting fact that boric acid, it is not dissociated form. It is not ionic form. So boron is always taken up in the form of boric acid across the pH, whatever pH may be, but boron will be taken as boric acid. So I hope that you got some idea about it. Few more slides are left. So in acid soils, zinc deficiency may be attributed to increased pH under decreasing pH in submerged calcareous soils would increase zinc solubility. However, with pH and poor aeration, potential zinc deficiency is aggravated. Water soluble zinc. Now you see how the submerged condition or flooded conditions reduce the zinc availability. Normally, under aerobic conditions, zinc deficiency will not be there. But under flooded conditions, you will have zinc deficiency. So water-soluble zinc availability decreases in flooded soils. The decreased zinc concentration may be due to. So these are the reasons. Every student must know it. Remember these reasons. First is precipitation of zinc hydroxide as a result of increased pH after flooding. Particularly in acidic soils, the pH will increase and there will be formation of zinc hydroxide, which is insoluble form. Another insoluble form is zinc carbonate. So due to carbon dioxide accumulation resulting from organic matter decomposition. Precipitation of zinc sulfide under very reduced soil conditions. High manganese concentration antagonize zinc absorption and translocation. Particularly at acidic pH, this manganese availability is also high. So it can antagonize the zinc absorption and translocation. So these are the insoluble compounds of zinc, which reduces its availability. The root system is also important. Certain genotypes have better root system, which are zinc use efficient. Since iron, zinc, manganese, copper, and nickel all have restricted mobility in the soil. So their acquisition can be improved by increasing the root biomass. So if you can develop a new plant type who is having exhaustive root system, better root system that can access larger volume of soil. So it will come in larger contact of the zinc. So therefore zinc uptake can be improved. So root system is also important. Roots play a greater part in translocation of zinc from soil to grain in rice as compared to wheat and barley. There is no discontinuation of xylem at the base of the grain in rice, and it is in wheat and barley. As a contrast, most zinc in the grain in wheat and barley comes by translocation from the leaves. Now, friends, that part is over. So if you have any point of discussion, any clarification, you can ask. This lecture seems to be too heavy, I think, too heavy. Too much content is there, I know it, but seeing the availability of the time and the kind of content you have in this syllabus, So it is very exhaustive syllabus also. So next 10-15 minutes more, I will take your class. So you see that zinc deficiency is widespread, and also there are problems with the availability of the zinc. Many times zinc will be there in the soil, and it gets fixed, or it gets become in insoluble form, so its availability is low. So what can be done when you have zinc deficiency? So one thing is that the best way is to go for basal application of zinc sulfate every alternate year. But if it is not possible to go for zinc sulfate application, then one can go for foliar spray of zinc. That is also effective way. Foliar application of zinc can also reduce the zinc deficiency, or can increase the zinc level in the plant, or can overcome the zinc deficiency in the plant. Foliar application is useful particularly in increasing the concentration of zinc in the grain. It has been found that if you go for foliar spraying of zinc sulfate, so just before flowering or just before heading stage, it increases zinc concentration. Even if you, after heading, if you go for foliar spray of zinc, then also it increases zinc concentration in grain. Because during foliar spray, some of the zinc will also fall directly on the grain. So that can increase the zinc concentration in grain also. So there are many measures to correct the zinc deficiency. Selection of zinc efficient varieties. The varieties which can do better under zinc deficient conditions. Zinc is deficient, but they will not show the zinc deficiency, or they will make themselves stronger enough to face the low levels of zinc in soil, and low level of zinc will not affect their growth or yield. Such kind of genotypes are zinc use efficient genotype varieties, or you can simply call zinc efficient variety. In nursery also, for example, in case of rice, you can broadcast zinc sulfate in the nursery seed bed. Another way is to do coating of the seed with zinc material. If you coat there are reports that if you do coating of zinc on the seed, that can also partly meet the zinc requirement of rice crop. Because it is micronutrient, it is required in very less amounts. You would surprise that 1 hectare of rice crop will take up only, say, 330 to 500 grams. In 1 hectare crop of rice, if you harvest it, grain and extra, total zinc uptake will be 300 to 500 grams only, say less than half kg zinc is removed from 1 hectare area. So very less amount of zinc is there. And so is the concentration of zinc in rice tissues. It is in most of the Indian varieties, old varieties, it was 4 to 14 ppm only in the grain. But on an average, you have about 20 to 25 ppm zinc in the grain, particularly in the endosperm or polished grain. So in nursery, you can broadcast zinc sulfate. Crop establishment, you can dip the seedling of pre-soaked seeds in a 2 to 4 zinc oxide suspension. So what can be done? That you can make zinc oxide suspension 2 to 4%. 2 to 4% means you will need 20 to 40 grams of zinc oxide in 1 liter of water. That will make your 2 to 4% zinc oxide suspension. Means it will not get solubilized, but it can be absorbed by the rice plant, rice roots, which you put in the suspension. These roots can take up zinc oxide. You can keep it for 4 to 5 hours, then there may be some zinc uptake. Soil application is the most efficient way. The range is 25 to 60 kg per hectare. Zinc sulfate can be applied. You can see the range is very high. It depends upon initial content of the zinc in the soil. Less zinc means you need to apply more. But the average values are about 20 to 25 kg zinc sulfate heptahydrate per hectare. And it can be top dressed in the standing crop also in the early stages, or mixed in soil by hoe and then irrigation. For foliar spray, you can go for 0.5 to 1% solution of zinc sulfate, but it should be always mixed with the lime, unslaked lime. Because what happens, if you spray zinc sulfate, the sulfate will make sulfuric acid on the leaves by dissociating. This zinc and sulfate will be dissociated, and this sulfate can make sulfuric acid, which can scorch your leaves, scorching appearance of leaves, so which can damage the leaves. So therefore, some lime may be mixed. Suppose you have solution of zinc sulfate as 0.5%. So you can make another solution of lime, 0.25% solution, and then mix these solution together and apply it. This lime will neutralize the acidity created by zinc sulfate. Even any sulfate, whenever you use any sulfate fertilizer for foliar spray, you should always use unslaked lime to prepare a solution and then mix these solutions and then spray them. Now, this is very important slides for biofortification, zinc biofortification in cereals. So it is not directly concerned to your subject, but you also talk about fertifortification, means increasing the nutrient content in grains by applying fertilizers. That is fertifortification. Or agronomic biofortification means increasing the level of micronutrients or other nutrients through agronomic practices. Like selection of variety, you can have different levels of nutrients in them. If you select variety, your spacing, seed rate, fertilizer, all kind of management practices affect the concentration of nutrients in plants or in their economic part. So therefore, that is known as agronomic biofortification. If it is genetic biofortification, sometimes we call, then in that case, you deal with the plant breeding aspects or genetic aspects. So friends, before I start you telling the concentration of zinc, so concentration of zinc is different in different plant parts. So for example, in rice, you have hulls. You have hulls. If you know the hulls, this is coarse or rough paddy. You can see this is on the left side picture. You can see this is coarse paddy, rough paddy. So it has three important components. One is hull. Hull is outside. This husk is your hull. Inside this hull, you have one important layer, which is a bran layer, B-R-A-N, bran layer, which is made up of three different layers. So then bran layer is there, and then inside that, you have endosperm, which is mostly starch. So you can see here the composition, the concentration of zinc will be different in all the three different parts. The husk will contain different level of zinc. The bran layers will contain different layers, and the white rice or polished rice inside will contain lower level of zinc. So you can see what you do actually from coarse rice, rough rice, or coarse or rough paddy. You are seeing on the left side, it is known by different names. Then you go for milling of this rice. Milling of this rice means you want to remove these two layers. One is removal of husk, other is removal of bran. So it is two-step process. In the first step, which is known as hulling or dehulling, or husking or dehusking. These four terms have same meaning. Means you are removing the hulls or husk from outside the grain. Then you will receive the brown rice. Brown rice contains the bran layers, which is enclosing the endosperm. And then brown rice plus caryopsis. Brown rice is also known as caryopsis. If you put this grain for germination, this brown rice, it will germinate this complete seed. So it is also your caryopsis. So caryopsis does not include your hulls. And so overall, you got brown rice or caryopsis, and also husk you will get. So this brown rice is actually contain more zinc than the milled rice. Then you will remove all the brown layers. So actually these brown layers are colored layer. Sometimes you will get red color, sometimes black color, sometimes tan color, yellow, cream color. Variety of colors are there. But inside those colors, inside those brown layers, rice is always white. The endosperm of rice is always white, whatever variety you take. And then you need to remove this brown layer. Sometimes you can remove only 20% by weight of this layer. Sometimes you can remove 50%. So it depends, milling degree, which is known as degree of milling. So normally it is 10 to 20% bran layer is removed, and then you get the white rice, which is also known as polished rice and plus bran. So from this, the polished rice and bran will be separated. This process of getting white rice from brown rice is called as polishing. It is also called as milling. It is also called as whitening, in which you remove the bran layers. So what happens, this brown rice has more concentration of zinc, mainly because of bran layer. These bran layers are richest part of the rice. Bran layers are rich in oil, contains 20% oil. They are rich in vitamins, proteins, minerals, all sorts of nutrients are present in this brown layer. So therefore, many people like to eat this brown layer, brown rice compared to white rice. However, there are some difficulties with brown rice. That is why many people don't eat it. It is not good in taste. It takes time to cook it, and it is having very short storage life because it contains fat. It contains fat. Bran layer contains fat, which which easily becomes rancid. Rancidity is there. If you remove the fat part, then rice can the longevity and storage is increased. So overall, what I want to say here is that brown rice is rich in zinc compared to white rice. And this brown rice if you remove the brown layer, you get white rice. It is also called as polished rice. You are polishing it. You are clearing the brown layers. So now you see first two lines of this. The zinc concentration is polished rice is 16 to 26.5 milligram per kg in 8 highly cultivated varieties. So normally you have low level of zinc even in the polished rice, this white rice. So these are considered as low level of zinc. So what your rices are always low in zinc. So what can be done? Now, zinc concentration in brown rice of varieties widely grown by the farmers range from 5 to 25 milligram per kg. You can see the range. Again, the levels of zinc are low even in brown rice. Zinc concentration in polished rice of popular rice varieties widely grown by farmers ranges from less than 12 to 14 milligram per kg. So actually these figures are reported by different authors, different workers. I have taken the most acceptable values. The most common values I have taken, but in literature you will find zinc concentration in grain, polished grain starting from 4, just 4 ppm. You will have some varieties. And as high as now we have recent varieties which contain more than 40 ppm zinc. I will show you some varieties which are high in zinc. So overall, the threshold value of 28 milligram per kg polished rice. You can remember this threshold value is 28 milligram for polished rice, means white rice for which bran layer has been removed. So threshold value of 28 ppm for polished rice by Harvest Plus has been reported. And if you take this, if you take it in terms of brown rice, it is 35 milligram per kg. Means our rice varieties should have the grain in which if you have white rice, then it should contain at least 28 milligram per kg zinc. If it is brown rice, then it should have more than 35 ppm zinc in brown rice. That is the message. Because when you go for milling of brown rice, when you remove the brown layer, you lose a lot of zinc, and you lose about, on an average, 19% zinc. If you convert brown rice to white rice, if you remove the brown layers proportion, say 10 to 20% removal of the brown layers, then you are losing about 19% zinc. So 35 into 19, it comes out to be divided by 100, it comes out to be 7. Add 7 in 28, then it becomes 35. So therefore, brown rice should have at least 35 milligram per kg of zinc, and polished rice should have 28 milligram per kg of zinc. So these are the threshold values. These are correct values. You should remember these values. Now, the rice varieties which are rich in zinc, I have just listed a few. Now, more and more are coming. DRR Dhan 45, first zinc biofortified variety. It was released in 2015, I think. Then Chhattisgarh Zinc Rice 1, DRR 45, Dhan 45, DRR Dhan 48, 49, and DRR Dhan 63 is the latest one, which contains about 24.2 ppm zinc in polished rice, which is still less than the threshold value of 28. But what can be done? Because these varieties were having still low, conventional varieties were having very low zinc. You see, the range was from less than 5, this 12 to 14. So it is better from 14, you have made 24 ppm. Now, this is the information about high zinc rice variety DRR Dhan 45, which was the first release variety, which was rich in zinc in 2015. And it contained about zinc content 22.6 ppm was there. It was considered as zinc biofortified variety. Of course, it is less than the 28 value. Now, a threshold value of 30 milligram. Now for iron, I was just one or two slides on wheat also. Zinc and iron rich wheat. Similarly, you have zinc and iron rich wheat also. And also now, even pulses, people are trying some other crops. It has become a fashion now to enrich each and every, to develop varieties which are biofortified with nutrients. So similarly for wheat also, people made a try, not just for zinc, but there are other quality parameters like proteins, iron, zinc, and some other materials. So a threshold of 30 milligram iron per kg, you must remember this value. Threshold for iron in wheat is 30 ppm. This is for the grain. Threshold of 30 milligram iron per kg has been set by Harvest Plus for baseline iron concentration in wheat. You should have at least 30 ppm of iron in wheat and at least 25 ppm zinc in wheat grain. So these are the two threshold values. And I have given the reference for details. You can read it. And varieties which have been developed, WB02, this is bread wheat variety. NWPZ means Northwest Plain Zone. Wheat growing areas are 6 in our country: Northwest Plain Zone, Northeast Plain Zone, Northern Hill Zone, Peninsular Zone, Central Zone, and Southern Hill Zone. So there are, our country has been divided from wheat cultivation point of view into 6 zones. So Northwest Plain Zone, Punjab, Haryana, etc. So this was released in 2017. Rich in zinc, contains 42 ppm zinc and 40 ppm iron. You need not to remember these values. You can just remember that they are rich in iron and zinc, and at least 40 ppm. Both zinc and iron are at least 40 ppm. HPBW1 bread wheat is your estimum wheat, Northwest Plain Zone 2017. So please go through these varieties. You can go yourself. Here TS means timely sown, irrigated, rain fed. So you can get some meaning out of this. HI 1633 Pusa Vani. I will share this presentation soon. So you can read, go through these kind of things. Like Pusa Postic is another variety. The last one here is HI 8663 Potion. The other name for this variety is Potion. So two names are famous these days, Pusa Postic and Potion. HI is for hybrid indoor. We have got a regional station. IRA has got regional station in Indore. So sometimes they put HI before their varieties. Durum wheat is also there. So this is Potion is Durum wheat variety and recommended for peninsular zone. As such also Durum wheat is mostly grown in peninsular zone or sometimes in central zone. So you can see it was released in 2008. Naturally biofortified health food. It has been considered as naturally biofortified health food, and it is high and stable. Beta carotene is about 6.5 ppm, and sedimentation value 35, protein 11.6, and high levels of micronutrient. It is included in the Nutri Farm scheme of the government of India. Now, this I have already shown you that what are the different forms, and you can see the boron, etc. And this is important for zinc PRE students. You can check the forms of iron. Right? You are up till today you were thinking that it is only Zn2 plus, which is the only form for zinc uptake. But here you can see with change. Here on x-axis pH is increasing, and on y-axis, if you go up, the concentration is increasing. Concentration of zinc is increasing. That is, cation concentration is increasing from 10 to the power minus 16, minus 12, so on. So as you increase the pH, you can see Zn2 plus form, the concentration is decreasing. Concentration is decreasing. But if you see that concentration is low, decreasing, concentration of zinc hydroxide is also decreasing. But see the difference that the zinc Zn plus 2 is higher, even up to at plus 7.5. You get their equal values, Zn plus 2 and ZnOH plus 1. Their values are equal at pH 7.5. But if you go lower, pH is less than 7.5, then you have higher value of Zn plus 2 than ZnOH plus 1. But if you have pH more than 7.5, then ZnOH values are higher than Zn plus 2. So this is this will increase further, and zinc can be taken up by the plant in this form. So what can I suggest you? You can study more about factor affecting zinc availability from this reference from page. You need to read just 2 pages, friends. So also you can see the crop sensitivity to zinc. Please go through the list of the crop. Highly sensitive means that they will show deficiency symptoms very quickly, and the critical level may be much lower, and mid sensitivity and low sensitivity. But in all the cases, you do not see any tolerance, they are sensitive. And there are different sources of zinc fertilizer. You can go through the concentration. Here it is wrong. Zinc oxide 78, it is not, it is 81. You can check others also. This is from this soil fertility and fertilizers. And interesting fact, I have already told that boron is taken up in boric acid form, and the reference is here. Here it is conclusively written that boron will be taken up in boric acid form. Many authors will confuse you, and they will fight, they will discuss with you, discourage you, but that is not the case. You please read this page and get clarifications. Thank you very much, and for your patience. It was really very long lecture. And so now your points, discussion point. If you have anything to ask, you are most welcome. And please open your videos so that I can discuss your questions. If you have any questions and any problem, I will try to solve it. But read more and more. Try study hard. And you can do it. You are very young. At this age, you can do whatever you like. This is the time to make best use of your time. So, you have any question? You have anybody has any question?
Sir, is zinc sulfate monohydrate available in the market, or it is only zinc sulfate heptahydrate?
Actually, if you go 10 years back, so zinc sulfate heptahydrate was the major fertilizer, or you can say only fertilizer to supply zinc. But with time, the factories, the producers of the fertilizer industry started producing zinc sulfate monohydrate more. So at the moment, right now, you have more and more zinc sulfate monohydrate than zinc sulfate heptahydrate. Now, most of the time, it is zinc sulfate monohydrate which is available in the market. And many times farmers do mistake. They use it at the rate of zinc sulfate heptahydrate. Suppose that rate is 25 kg per hectare. And that is for zinc sulfate heptahydrate containing 21% zinc. But if you are using monohydrate, you should reduce the quantity because it is having more. So it is most common now. Monohydrate is most common in the market.
Sir.
Yeah.
So you asked that question on that day that after irrigation we should apply urea or before irrigation we should apply urea.
Yes, I could not reply it, but I reviewed the literature, and best thing I found from Dr. Vijay Singh. Dr. Vijay Singh was a soil scientist from Punjab Agricultural University, Ludhiana. So I studied his paper. I will share with you. It was published in 1985. That time maybe he started his career or before that. And also we got one great soil scientist, Katyal. J.C. Katyal was quite famous soil scientist in India. He worked on zinc also in PA. He was vice chancellor of some universities. So Dr. J.C. Katyal, he gave critical levels. You see, I shown you, I was talking about Katyal. So that paper is basically from Katyal and Vijay Singh. And that paper says that it depends upon your type of soil. Type of soil will affect it. And he said that if it is sandy soil, then first you apply water and then apply fertilizer. Then apply fertilizer or urea. If it is clay soil, then first you apply urea, and after that you apply water. The main logic is that wherever you have more losses by ammonia volatilization, if you expect more losses by ammonia volatilization, then you spread urea first and then apply water. That is the only answer. Because why this problem came? That within 24 hours, if you apply urea on the surface of the soil, within 24 hours, it will come to the ammonium form. It will hydrolyze 24 hours. So after 24 hours, if it is spread on the surface, you will get 30%, up to 30% ammonia volatilization will be there. But if you sensibly apply the limited quantity of water, say 4 centimeters of water, so not much urea will be leaching down. Not much urea, that will not be problem. And you have already put your seed at 5 centimeter depth. And then your roots will go beyond the 5 centimeter. They can go up to 10 centimeter. Roots can go up to 15 centimeter. But at the time of first irrigation, at least at 10 centimeter depth, you will have your roots from the surface of the soil. So that water can go 5 centimeter, 6 centimeter, percolate into the soil, not beyond that. But if it has to be limited quantity of water. So most of the time in clay soil, he suggested that you go for surface application of urea and then you apply water. That paper I can share. So it is not always true that you first give water and then apply urea. This is not true. And I will send you more on this subject. I have scanned some literature. I will scan more. And then once I am satisfied, I will share all kind of details. Or remind me from email, I will reply.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Any other question?